Hello, in this video, I'm going to demonstrate how state management libraries are going to significantly enhance your development workflow. We will explore two scenarios. In the first scenario, I'm going to use the primitive useState hook that comes with React, and we will highlight the common challenges that you will face during your development process. Things like how you share states between components and how that could lead you to something known as prop drilling, and how you can spoil or like make your component re-rendering inefficient. And then we are moving to the second scenario where we're going to use the Zustand state management and how this is going to improve, like it will make the development process much more easy and fun. So I will show you the two challenges that you will face in working with the primitive use state that comes with React. So first thing, if you have a component B and you have some information in that component and you want to pass the information here to the component A, now that is impossible. The only way to do that is to move the information that you want to share with that component, to move it up in the component tree to the parent component, and then pass it from the parent component to that component and to that component. And the problem here is if you have a state and you have the method that update the state, and you have the method in here, you want to call it, and the state, you want it to reflect in here. That is the only component that depends on that state. You cannot pass or share the state from that component to the component C directly. You will have again to move it up in the tree, and then you have to pass it from the parent component to component A, and then component B, and then component C. Now that is known as prop drilling. This is when you pass some prop from the top of the tree all the way down to some component that nested deep in the tree. The second problem you're gonna face here is when you pass a state from the parent component to the component C. Now, if you update the state, all these components are going to re-render. That is because the state passes through these components. So this is very inefficient. And in the second scenario, what we're going to do is we are going to create a Zustand store, and we are going to create, to make all our components pure components. They will be isolated. We are not going to pass the states as props, but rather we will, in each component, we can just send a request from the component to the Zustand store, asking it to give us a specific piece of knowledge or a specific state, and without ever touching any of these components. This is very efficient, and it will make your code maintainable, very easy to read, and very easy to develop. So now let's start with the scenario number one. We are going to move to our code. Now the index, this is my the parent component, and here I have two components. The main component, this is the one that fetch the products from the API, and then we render the products that we fetched. We render it in a flat list, and in the flat list we have the render item. This is the render item component, and also we have a footer component, because I want to show you how it is frustrating to share information among components when we are not using a state management library, because that list of products is a component, and that part that showing the statistics is also a component. So how are we gonna like make that component receive information from that flat list component? So now I'm gonna begin by going to the render item component, and I will create a buttons component. Actually, I'm going to use the auto completion, but I will use the principal. Okay, and here I will make the color red, and here I will make it blue, and then we're gonna display the buttons. Now we have two buttons. One will delete the product and one will modify the product. We want to be able to modify the title or something like that. To make that happen, I cannot make the modification function on that scope or that level. I will have to make it on that level, because the variable that contains the products is in here. So I will have to define the function that will remove or modify the product in that scope. So I'm going to say const remove item. Now the function take an ID for the product, and it filter all the items and all the products and return all the items except the one that we are passing the ID for. This is what will delete the product. Now to expose that function to the buttons, I will have to pass it as a prop to the render item. And actually, let me modify the TypeScript and add the remove item, and then I'm going back to the main and then render item. I'm received the function, and then I will pass it to the buttons, and in the buttons I will receive the function. And actually, let me create a copy of the function, because here I will have to pass the ID for the item. But instead of passing the ID and the function together, let me just make a function, a modified version, and pass it. And here I will say on press remove item. Yes, let's edit the TypeScript. And then I'm gonna save. Now, if we click the delete, we are successfully removing the product. Now, let's see how we can keep a record for the deleted items. Now, let's go to the main. Now, you cannot just go here and say const deleted item, and we increase the deleted item, because how are we gonna send that variable up to here, because the footer is one step higher than our current scope. So you cannot send that variable up in the component tree. But what you do, as we said, we're gonna move that piece of information or that state. We're gonna move it one step up in the tree, and then we are going to pass the function that will set the count, and then we're gonna pass the count to the footer. Then we're gonna move to the main, and here we are going to receive the function, and then we can set the deleted item. But here because we don't have the variable passed, so we're gonna use the prev. And here let me modify the TypeScript. Okay, now the TypeScript is good. Now I'm going to go back to the index. I'm going to go to the footer, and here we receive the deleted items, which is a number, and we are going to modify the deleted item, and let's save. And I will remove that. As you can see, the counts is increasing. Now let's do the modify button. Now we will have to use a model to modify our the title of our product. So we have here the model. The model receives the current modifying item, the information of the item that we want to modify, and also it receives the function or the method that set the current item that we are modifying. And here we are receiving the onSave title once we click the onSave. And here we are going back to the main, and I will create another state. I will say modifying item and set modifying item, and the TypeScript it receive it either take a product or it's null. And then we are going to send the set modifying item to the render item also. And in the render item, let me also edit the TypeScript. Then we are going to the render item, and we will take the set modify item, and also we are going to create a copy from it, and we are going to pass it to the buttons. And in the buttons, we first edit the TypeScript, and here we say onPress modify item. Now we are going back to the model, or let's go back to the main, and here we are going to import the model, import modify model, and here we are going to display it. And the model again is taking the modify item and the set modify item, which we have created here, and also the onSave title. Let's just create a const onSave title is a function. So we are mapping through the products, all the items, and if The item is actually the one we are modifying. We are going to inherit or take all the item content except the title. We are going to set it with the new title. And here I will pass the onSave function. Here I don't know why the TypeScript is complaining. Let me check. Yes, because the variable isn't the same, so I'm going to change that. Also, the set function. Okay, now all good. Now let's refresh the app. Now we're gonna click on the modify. As you can see, we have the model, and here we can edit the title. I can say test product, or actually modified product, and then I'm going to hit save. The item is not updated. Let's try again. Okay, test, and then I'm going to click save. Okay, it has not been saved, and the issue I'm sure is in the modify or in the saving function. Let me check the save function. Okay, iterate through the products, and if the ID is equal to the ID. Okay, now it's just providing the title, the previous title that we have. Let's add the new title, and then on save, let me go to the model, and on save it take ID and title actually. So let's edit the on save ID number, and here let's edit this and make it only the ID. And now let's try again, test product, and we're gonna hit save. Okay, now we see the title has updated. Now, as you can see, how many states we have in here and how many props we are passing to the components. Like you can see here how many props we are passing, and not only that, but we are passing the props on many levels. So we are passing, for example, in the render item, and then from the render item to the buttons component. And the problem isn't only the prop drilling, but also I'll show you. Let's go back to the main, and let's say console.log rendering the main. Now you can see here in the log, if I just open the model, like modify, you can see the component, the main component is rendering. And even when I open the model or close the model, the main component is re-rendering, because that state here is inside the component, and every time I modify it, the component re-render, even though the component doesn't depend on that variable. We don't need to re-render the main component. And that is another problem you will face when you use the primitive useState that comes with React. Now we're gonna move to the second scenario. I will show you how the Zustand state management work, and how it will improve and change the workflow of our development. So I will begin by creating a store folder. Actually, I have the folder already. I will create a global.ts. This is the global store. But before you do that, you will have to install the Zustand. So you have to execute the npm install Zustand. Well, I have already did that, so I don't need to install it again. Now, let me go back to our app. Now, I will do import create from the Zustand. As you can see, AI is helping me. What we're gonna do is we are going to use the create function that we inherit from the Zustand. Now we have an object in here. In that object, we will define our variables and also our methods. So I will begin by defining our variables. I will say the first variable I will define is, let me go back to the main. First, the products, loading an error, products, loading error. Then we have the set product. Let me import the product from the TypeScript. Import product. And so we have the variables, and we have the functions that set the variables. I will actually use the TypeScript, so I will create Let me first create the interface, global store, and yes, we have now the TypeScript activated. And now let me explain how things work in here. First, we set the variables and then we set the methods. These are the methods that we can use to update these informations. And as you can see, we store, Zustand stores these information as object. So you can update multiple states in one hit. You like in the traditional useState, you have to, like if you are fetching products, you will first have to set the products and then you set the loading to be false. And maybe if you have an error, you set the error to be false, etc., etc. But here we can update so many variables in the very same time. So the way to update these information is by using the set function. A set function, we receive it from the Zustand. And the way it works, let me remove that function and let's create it, set loading. So this is the method, and this is the parameter that we can pass to the function. And then we have the function in here. Then we're gonna call the set, and that set function, it either take an object or take a function. You can just pass the object of the new information that you want to update, like you can say loading is equal true. Now that function, if you call it, it will set the loading to be true. Or it may, you can pass, instead of passing an object, you can pass a function and say, you can say loading is, this is an error. You can pass loading. What is wrong with the AI? You can say loading is true. Now, the advantage here of using the function inside the set function is it will give you the state. Now, you receive that state which contain all of these variables. That is going to be helpful if you have nested variables, like you can have users, and inside users is an object, and you can see user 1 is 1 and user 2 is 2. Now, in that case, you cannot update that variable using the way like by just passing an object to the set function. You will need to use the function inside the set, and then what you're gonna do is first you will spread the state, and then you will say users. Also, you can spread all the users, and the TypeScript is complaining. Let me modify the users, and let me remove that. Now, what we are doing is we are spreading the whole state. We are taking all the variables except the users variable. We are also taking all the users except the user 1. We are going to update it to increment it by 1. This is how you will update and nested variables inside your object. Because the Zustand store can have many levels of nested information, variables inside variables inside variables. So the way to update it is by spreading the data, and you spread the subdata and so on until you reach the level where you're gonna find the information you want to update, and then you're gonna update it. Now let's go back to our example. I will remove all these. I will remove users also from the interface. I'm missing the set loading. I'm going to go back to the main, and I will copy the fetch products and I will move it to the store. I will say fetch products. Actually, first I will say set loading to be true, and then we're gonna fetch, and then we are going to set products to be the new products. And here as you can see, we are updating the old set state by the new set function. And actually, I don't need to set the loading because, as I said, we can update multiple variables at the same time. So I'm going to update everything in one shot. And now let's go back to the main. Actually, I have a problem here, I think, because of the TypeScript. What else do I have? Yes. Okay, I will go back to the main and I will remove the function. Also, I will remove the remove function. I will remove everything actually. Then I will receive all the variables from the store. Now, the way to receive or to fetch or to pull functions or method from the store is first you will import the store. Now, as you can see, we are pulling the information from our global store. This is not the ultimate way to pull variables. At the end of the video, I will show you the proper one. Now, let's focus on how we're going to use these information. So here, I'm going to keep the use effect as it is. And okay, we've received the products loading error, set products, fetch products. Okay, I don't need actually the set products. Why do I need it? Let's remove the save on title. And okay, also I will remove these functions and I will edit the types. I will remove it, and in the modify, okay, here in the model, let me remove all of that. Let me remove, we are not going to send any information as a prop. We are going to take it from the store, modifying item, set modifying item from the store. Actually, we don't have it yet. So I'm going to go back in the store and I will say modifying item and set modifying item. The modifying item, let me edit it in the TypeScript, is going to be either product or it's going to be null, and set modifying item on save title. Okay. Okay, now you see the problem I was talking to you about. We cannot use the simple object inside the set. We will have to use the function. So I'm going to remove that, and then I'm going to yes, the auto completion is very nice. Now we received the state, and then we are going to use the state and the products variable inside the state. We are iterating, mapping through all the products, and if the item ID is equal to the ID we are passing in here, it's going to update the title with the title that we also providing. And let me add that. Now let's back to our model. I will update the names. Okay. Actually, we don't need to close the model manually, because on save title I can edit it to where is the store. On save title I can also, I will say modifying item to be null, so the model will close. Now I'm going to go back to the modify item. I have an error here. Where is the error? Yes. Okay, now all good. Now I'm going back to the main. I will remove that. Now I'm going to go to the render item, and I will also remove that. Actually, I'm going to remove all of that, and I will just pass the item. And here, let me edit the TypeScript. Okay, here we are passing the item, which is in a product type. Let me import the product. Okay, we have imported here, the AI imported it. Let me remove that. And here we are importing the use global store, and here we are pulling that functions from the use global store. We are pulling the set modify item, and we are pulling the remove item. I will take that. I will also remove these. I don't need them. I will say, okay, set modifying item to be the item. And here we forgot to add the remove item, so I'm going to add it, remove item. This is exactly the same function that we had before. It filters out all, it keeps all the items except the item ID that equal to the ID that we are providing. So I'm going to go back, and here, yeah, we forgot to add it in the TypeScript. Remove item. There's something else. Okay, nothing else. I'm going to go back, and here we will, on click, we remove the item. And also let's go back to the footer, and here we have the deleted item. Let's go to the parent. Where is the index? yeah, in here, we're gonna remove that. We're gonna remove all of that. We're gonna remove all of that. And we're gonna go to the footer. We're gonna remove that. And we are going to pull the products and also the deleted items. Okay, we forgot to add the deleted items. So I'm going back to the global store. Where is the store? And we are going to add deleted items. And here on remove item, I will, let me, okay, deleted item is going to increase. And let's add this to the TypeScript deleted items. Now all good. And we are receiving the deleted items in here and here. Also, let's set the products number, products.length. Okay, now all good. Let's refresh our app. And here, let's click on delete. As you can see, we have deleted the product, and the deletion, the count of deleted products is increasing. And here we have the total products. Let's try to modify a product. Here is the Kelvin Klein. I will set it to testing product. And then I'm going to save. As you can see, the title has updated. Now, as you can see, our components became very clean. We are not sending any props to our components, and the rendering now is going to be much more efficient. Except for one thing, very, very important to see that and understand that. Let's go back to the main, and I will also make a console log. I will say console log rendering the main, and let's open our model. As you can see, the main component is still rendering. That is because the way we are pulling the information from the global store is incorrect. So what we are doing here is we are fetching everything inside the global store, and then we are destructuring or taking variables from it. So what we essentially or technically do here is we are pulling everything inside the global store. And thus, when we update the model, our component is re-rendering because we are pulling the model stages, the variable that is responsible about the model stages, we are pulling it in here, even though you don't see it. What we are doing here is like buying 100 telephone or 100 phone from the internet, and then after they come to your home, you choose the one that you want from them. But this is wrong. What you have to do is you have to choose the phone before you bring it. So what we're going to do here is we are going to use a function that comes with the Zustand, is known as useShell. The right import. Now let's move to here, and as you can see, we are asking the store to be very specific, to give us a very specific list of variables, the products, the loading, the error, and the fetch products function. And then we are destructuring it. Now let's save and let's restart our app. Let's try to click on the modify to open the model. Now, as you can see, there is no re-rendering happening in our component. Now, make sure every time you pull information from your store, make sure to use the useShell. Now, that was the difference between using a state management library and using the primitive useState that comes with React. Good luck for your project, and thank you very much.